Now, wait. My face is too close to the camera. Yay. I'm holding it wrong. Yeah, this... I have no words. Simply have no words. This is... Y'all, go and read this book. Go and read the book now. Go and get it now. Go and talk about it. Go and read it. Go and digest it. Go and seep this book in your bones. Go and just... You better read this book. I'm ready to scrap. I'm ready to scrap. Ife, I am ready to scrap. Whoa, I'm ready to scrap. I'm ready to fucking kill that boy. This guy is the epitome of little dick energy. I am tired. I'm tired. I'm tired.
I am tired. I'm tired. I'm tired.
This guy, yeah, he was irritating. You know what? I thought that he was going to be cute love interest, okay? So that, okay, the girls can both have their interests, yeah? Like, you know, Nala and Sinai, you know, Nala can have her, you know, cute village boy, and Sinai can have her cute, you know, prince. When I'm telling you, Ife was the most annoying fucking character. I can't cuss. I shouldn't be cussing. Ife was the most annoying ass character I have ever. And you know why he was more annoying? Because he was African and I could just see, I could just like put so many guys into Ife and it would make sense because so many guys exist like that in my reality, and it was very, very annoying. Like, you know, when representation hits a little too to the nose, that was Ife, and I was tired. This guy from day one thought that he could woo my girl with gifts and shower her with opulence, yeah, and overbear upon her, and show her riches, and that what to get her to like him. This guy was always me. A woman must, you know, me. Who sent you? Oh my God. Do you see the orange bits? These orange bits are that from the times that all the men disappointed me in this book. Let's start this video. Hi, my name is Martha. Welcome back to my booktube channel, and today I'm going to be reviewing Daughters of Nri by Nri K. Amayo. Oh, okay. So I'll start off by saying I love this book. I give it 5 out of 5 stars. Like, that's all the review you need. You can just go and read it right now and come back and discuss it with me, because that is basically all I can say about this book. I mean, it was amazing. So it's about the twins on the cover, as you can see, and they are born with magic, and they are born in a time where the gods have after a war has occurred between the gods, and the Earth Mother has been killed by the king, and you know, it's because of him. Okay, so what happens? The king, oh my goodness, I do not know how to do summaries. Okay, so the summary is like, a war happened in the earth, and between the gods happened in the earth, and the gods kind of left the earth because the king killed the Earth Mother. And now comes a time when there are twins that are born, and they're kind of a threat to the king because they have magic in them, and that magic has the potential to kill the king. But they are separated at birth, which means one is born in one is sent to the palace and one is sent to a remote village. So one of them, the one sent to the village, is called Nala, and she grew up in this kind of place wanting more adventure out of her life, and she wanted, you know, to travel, I mean to play. She kind of is still in, you know, trying to be young forever and stuff. She doesn't want to get married. She doesn't want to just continue with, you know, just the she doesn't just want to continue with what's expected of her as a woman in the society, and she feels like that's not enough for her life. And on the other hand, we have Sinai, who lives in the palace, but it's not all that it's cracked up to be, because that place is very cold, very savage, not very conducive for women. And she is you kind of have to, like I said in my last video, you have to kind of play the game to survive in that palace, and you have to almost do anything you can to have your place secured in the palace and stuff. I loved it. I can say for right now, I love the writing style. I love, you know, the colorful descriptions of characters, the colorful descriptions of things, of scenes, of the world. You know, I usually don't like world building. I see it as necessary, but I feel like sometimes writers can, you know, take too much time doing world building, and it becomes almost boring because there's no dialogue. I usually kind of skip to the dialogue, but I liked it. There was a balance, I feel like. And some people may have a problem with the kind of style of writing, because it's, I don't know, showing versus telling. There's a lot of telling, but I like it because that's how Africans tell our stories. We tend to say, once upon a time, this and this happened, this and this happened. You know, that's how we tell our stories orally, even within a bigger story. So I didn't have really a problem with that. I saw it as a representation of how Africans tell stories. And I guess that's how they do it as well in Nigeria and stuff. I liked how the Igbo culture was well represented, how even other African cultures like Namibian culture was Namibian culture was represented. And I mean, like pockets of small other, you know, representations of other parts of Africa, but it was mostly Igbo culture. I like that the language was just put there without explanation of, you know, what it was, but there was a glossary, thank goodness, for us who can't understand. But as well, like for me, even if I didn't understand the language, it was good that I could also understand the context. So even sometimes I didn't need to check the glossary to like understand what was being said, because it was kind of obvious to me, because there are some things that are kind of shared, and some, you know, it's I don't know if it's a Bantu language, but I could recognize some things a little bit. So I, like, when I checked the translation, I was like, oh, okay, that sounds similar to something I have in my culture that is like this and this and this. The little things I didn't like was it started off slowly. So the first around 180 pages were like, nothing is happening, you know, people are just stagnant, you know, there's really nothing happening. But I mean, maybe that was necessary because, you know, she's trying to set up the world, she's trying to introduce us to what is happening, the background. And I mean, you have to, sometimes I feel like balancing plot and setup and world building is a very delicate balance. And I don't know, but well, once you get through that start, the rest of it kind of flies. So I'm just gonna go into the themes and discuss the book and, you know, try and expound more. So if you don't want to be spoiled, you can just click off and go read the book and come back so that we can have a discussion, so that you can tell me what you think about in the comments below. So I've talked about how I loved the colorful descriptions of characters, and one of actually my favorite character was Mikulu, because she was amazing. She was the kind of the grandmother figure, the mentor of Sinai, and she was the one who helped her come into her age, come into her power, come into, you know, her fullness, you know. And she was described as, you know, a woman with locks, with red ochre painted on her hair, down to her, you know, a very long hair with white puffs that go down to the the ground, and that was so vivid. And her skin was described as red brown, and I could see that in my mind. I could picture like my grandmother's, and she reminded me so much of my late grandmother, and the way her relationship with Sinai was so beautiful and relatable, and how, you know, the grandmother would go on tangents and stuff and not explain fully what she means, and she was also a bit, you know, chastising to her, and that was so, you know, funny. And one of the most beautiful scenes in the book, actually the most beautiful and my favorite scene in the book, was a description of a tree, of a garden, I guess, and because of the emotions of that scene and the way you could just see the colors it weaved into the scene, so like it was almost like a painting is coming to life. She is a G basically. The only thing I didn't like about Mikulu's arc is I don't like the trope where you introduce an older character only to use them as a plot device to advance the main character. Like, I have seen that so many times and it annoys me. Like, every time I see senseis die, like when I see, like, you know, when I think of Mufasa, if you've watched CS Manos, the sensei character, like, why do they kill off old characters? Like, why can't they survive? Why? What was the reason?
What was the reason? I just explained the reason. What was the reason, bitch?
But anyway, you can do whatever you want with your story. It's just something that keeps like let old characters survive, please, because my heart cannot take it anymore. That trope is pretty just gets on my nerves. Apart from Mikulu, other characters were described so well, like the king, the way he was, you know, the way he was written as this guy with, you know, locks and, you know, long locks and, you know, feathers on his head, you know, the I could just picture, you know, a powerful man and with rich brown skin. All the characters described with rich brown skin, like and specific shades, you know. Some people, when they write black characters, they just write rich black skin. Like, we're supposed to know what rich black skin is, man. Like, there's no shade from beige to, you know, the midnight black. Like, come on, like, we need specificity, and I love that that was represented in this book. Also, another character called Ina, and one thing I appreciated is that the way characters were described, you could almost see their aura. You could see, like, Mikulu is this gentle spirit and the king is this powerful, you know, tall man. And with Ina was another female character who was a bit cunning, ambitious, you know, clever, a bit, you know, I thought she was a bitch at the beginning, not you know, not gonna lie, but she was described as this, you know, beautiful, cunning, you know, ambitious woman. And her clothes, you know, kind of, you could tell that this is a person who takes care of herself, is very meticulous in whatever she does, in the kind of people she hangs around with, and she is someone who has a very hard exterior. And I love the way that the author managed to change our minds on her, and I'll just talk about her later. Something else I liked was the positive depiction of sex workers, and Mikulu said something like the bravest women you would ever meet. And I like that there was representation of our beauty, especially with these girls and them being African and Black specifically, the representation of our beauty and the celebration of that beauty. And too often I hate the trope of, you know, characters hating on the pretty girl just because she's pretty, and everyone assuming that a beautiful woman is an airhead. And I just feel like in literature, there's not enough recognition of beauty as power. And I feel like that was very powerful considering who the protagonists were, even the antagonists, even Ina, who I did not like at first. I mean, even Ina, I also like, there's so much to say. Okay, let's just start with Ina. Ina was this very like she did bad things. Like she was I don't even know if you can call her morally gray, but at first she did bad things. Like I was writing her off right at the beginning, and the way she was weaved in, and just the depiction of complex female relationships, complex relationships between women, I should say, and the way that was hard won, it was hard fought, and it wasn't just this kumbaya sitting around the fire and singing songs and women, coming together, that type of feminism, because that is not an easy type of relationship. Relationships sometimes can be hard, and they need to be worked on, and they can be toxic at the beginning. But the only thing I had a problem with was the fact that something terrible had to happen to Ina before they became this close-knit bond of sisters. I just hate sometimes that we need to use things like rape or abuse. By the way, I should give a trigger warning. There's a bit of like domestic violence, but thankfully it happens off page. But I just hate that we need to use that in media, in literature, to illustrate this point about strength of women, about them overcoming shit. I just wish that we could use something else to show strength of women. But anyway, that kind of thing, you get to see this theme of how patriarchy and how weak men try to pervade our our dreams, our desires, our ambition. Even if we are cunning, even if we are unlikable, that tries to invade into it, and tries to bring someone who is who doesn't give a shit. Like Ina did not give a shit, and yet somebody did not like that and tried to take that away from her. And that is just one of the themes there. And someone like Ina now, when that happened to her, you see this kind of change in Sinai, and you see this kindness and compassion come out of her, pour out for her, to her Ina, her friend, and you see this kind of tight bond between them, and just the representation of sisterhood in this book, of friendship in this book between Nala and Cora, and the things that they would talk about, little things like the hair, and Cora telling Nala, girl, your braids are old, like, babe, we need to change your braids, and they're just talking about that. And that friendship also did not come easily. It's not just this kumbaya talking around the fire, like this feminism of women supporting women immediately for nothing. It's just just the reality of humans, and how our relationships are not that that easy to come by, and people have to take baby steps in order to form full friendships. And I liked that was a reality that was presented in the book. Another theme in this book was the suppression of women by the patriarchy. Their dreams are being suppressed, their need for justice, their ambitions, their magic in regards to the twins. And there was this depiction of how patriarchy and how men are just after power, and how that power suppresses the girl's magic, how that power suppresses women's need for justice, how that power suppresses our dreams. And that was just very prevalent in this book. Another thing, the contrast between how the relationship, the relationship that Sinai had and Naala kind of had. And the writer tried to contrast between how, toxic masculinity and selfishness kind of pervade relationships, and that can take the lead, and also how healthy hetero relationships are supposed to look like, and how that can be gentle, loving, supportive, protective, but not overbearing. I'm not gonna lie though, I didn't care for the relationship that Naala was having, mainly because I was kind of trying to protect her, because everything was going to shit with her sister, and I was like, all the men are kind of disappointing me in this book. Like, what will happen to Nala? I mean, what if this guy lets her down as well? But I mean, it was very nice how, you know, you could see the difference. And I feel like that was a very good message to be able to put across in a subtle way in fantasy, and not just, you know, message bashed in our faces, but we could see the differences. I mean, it was a very clever idea to use twins, because now you could kind of tell the difference between them. But I mean, poor Sinai, she's the one who had to go through all that shit. And if I am very honest, the worst villain was a guy called Obi Ife. Ife, my God, I'm telling you, every time, this guy was the most annoying guy. This guy was calling Sinai wife before they have even... She was not even feeling him, and he's here saying, oh, that is not how an Obi's wife should react. And then this guy is the biggest op. He is the biggest op. And if I find, you know, the way I wish I could just reach into the book and strangle a character. Like, this guy was too much. And if you've watched the beginning of this video, you can tell how pissed off this guy made me. In fact, he should have been replaced as the main villain, because the main villain did not really do anything. He just popped in and popped out like a cartoon guy. He could almost be like, you know, that villain from Samurai Jack, who was like irrelevant and would just pop in and out. But Ife is someone who could exist in real life, and that annoyed me so much. But I want him gone. I want him dead. I want his head on a pike, because he was so annoying, and he's the biggest snitch, and he's the biggest op, and I want his head. Finito. Period. This guy was the biggest enemy of progress. Every time Sinai wants to do something, this guy, I mean, every time he shows up like a weird ass, I don't know who sent him. No one was even interested in him. She wasn't even, oh my gosh. Like, he was so selfish. And I feel like, man, in the next book, please, I need him killed off or something. And I hope he's not given a bigger role, because he was so irritating. He was so bloody irritating. Like, I'm ready to get the fuck ASAP, because I was done. But one thing I also liked, when Ina, you know, her character was kind of changed, she became this very supportive friend. She was using all her tactics to support Sinai, and that was just the best. She was like yelling at her. She was, you know, throwing insults at her. She was cajoling her, but she was also kind to her. She was basically force feeding her and taking her for walks and stuff. She kind of protected her in a way by the end, and you get to see real friendship from fake friends. One thing I should also mention about this book was the way our weaknesses and our strengths were presented. You know, that it's okay for you to be strong, and it's also okay for you to be weak sometimes. And it's okay just to be in bed and not want to get up and not want to do anything because you're in grief, or because you feel depressed, or because of any other fucking reason. That you don't always have to be this, you know, the fallacy of the strong black woman and how that is harmful for us. And, you know, that was shown in both Ina and Sinai, how Ina didn't always have to be this, you know, tough girl who is going through the court and all that stuff. Or Sinai didn't always have to be that strong protagonist all the fucking time. Like, both of them had moments where they were allowed just to be, you know, girls and be friends and be young like they are, which I wish that author had put their ages, but I guess we know that they're young, so you could put whatever age you ascribe to. But I just loved the way that was presented. With Ina, for example, like, she didn't have to be strong all the time, but she provided strength for Sinai at a time when Sinai did not give a shit about anyone, and she was just so tired. And also the way Sinai reciprocated that at some point when Ina, something bad happened to her and she gave her support and stuff, and she also showed her compassion and kindness, and how powerful those types of things are, and that we all don't have to be strong collectively, but that we can help each other. And that is the sort of support that I saw, that I really liked, and that was very concrete for me, more so than a vapid sort of empty support from other women. Like, I like that there was a kind of real relationship depicted between the two that didn't come easily, as I've said before. Ina really got my vote, like Ina for hashtag Ina for president, because she really came through. There's a part where she says, yes, yeah. So as I said before, there was a very, very good depiction of sex work and sex workers. And there was a scene where, Sinai was at her wit's end and she did not know what next to do, because she has just lost all her options. And this is what I was talking about when I was talking about beauty being used as a weapon when you have nothing else, because usually authors think that we need to have some sort of skills or something. We need to wield a sword, we need to shoot a gun in order to be strong female characters. And I was just like Ina understood that this life is not for us girls, and sometimes you just have to do what you have to do. And yeah, in fact, the whole chapter is called the Akuna, and it's just about how, Sinai is just going to, what can she do? She just has to use her beauty to save her mentor. So because Ife is such a dickhead, this is what Ina had to tell Sinai. You did nothing wrong, Sinai. You are allowed to ignore parchments. You are allowed to move and walk around without having to accommodate these men. You know this. You know this. That is why you did what you did to Ojo. You saved me from that monster. But now you need to be strong again. Do not take this blame. Do not let him do this to you. And if that is not healing for anybody who has had to survive someone who is abusive, or like someone who has been oppressed, that was just powerful. That is the word of the day. Powerful, powerful, powerful. And that's just I just can't get enough of that. That was so life affirming. Like, I wish I had, I don't know. I keep saying I wish I had this as a kid, but honestly, I appreciate it all the more that I've read it now. One last thing I liked was the themes of spirituality and the way the female and the male kind of spirituality were contrasted. The Earth Mother contrasted with Chukwu, who was God, and the way God was described as, either one being to some people, many gods to other people. Like the kind of the freedom the writer gave you to put whatever you ascribed to as God. And also she was kind of almost telling us that, it's not that Africans did not think of God as one thing. We have monoethnic cultures, but we also have polyethnic cultures. I don't know if I'm saying if it's monoethnic or oh my goodness, English has failed me, but you get what I'm trying to say. I just liked the depiction of spirituality and how that was prevalent in the book, with the magic, with the stories of the gods. And yeah, that's a very good way of like writing about African mythology, in my opinion, especially for young people. In a very interesting way, I thought. So there were little things that I liked in this book. It wasn't just, doom and gloom. So I liked how, you could tell that the writer is sort of a millennial. So little things like, when a character says you're reaching, you can tell like she's talking about, when people say you're reaching on social media, it's kind of like an urban kind of interpretation of that word. And also when she says something like, when another character says, I said what I said and I'm not going to change that, or when, when Ina is saying, you know, I mean, men all react the same. Like, if you go and give yourself to him, this is what will happen. And then a man in the scene is like, no, not all men are like that. I was like, oh my gosh, that's so hashtag not all men. Like, that was funny. And I also liked there was a woo. I also like that there was like a safe sex conversation that happened like in a very funny way, but that was really good. Also, someone else says, you know, disappointed but not surprised, which is just another modernism that I thought was interesting. And yeah, also, yeah, the relationship between Nala and Eni was really cute. Like, their relationship was just, I don't know, maybe it was a bit insta-lovey, but this thing had been happening for months, so I guess I could allow it, probably. There was like this funny thing where like Sinai has left to go and avenge her family and her villagers, and you know, Eni is just like, she's left me and she didn't even think of me, and I'm like, bitch, she just lost her fucking family. Like, who is thinking of a relationship at this time? Like, man, move. She has time for other things right now. She is not thinking of you. This is why sometimes romance is just like, dude, this is not needed right now. Like, people are dying. People are dying, Kim.
What's wrong with you guys? My diamond earring came off in the ocean and it's gone. Kim, there's people that are...
All I can conclude this video with is that you need to read this book. Black teenagers need to read this book. Black women need to read this book. Everyone needs to read this book. You will be inspired. I have been inspired. This has just gotten my, you know, I'm so animated and my blood is pumping, and I just loved this book. I cannot wait for the next one. Oh, one more thing. Justice for Nwe. That is all. That is all. Anyway, thank you for watching. And yeah, I will see you in my next video. I may not film anything else this year just because I'm busy and I have exams coming up, and whew, that takes a lot because I have to film and edit this thing. And anyway, I will see you in my next video. Please like, share, and subscribe. And yeah, see you again.